properly eccentric or not, okay? Only we know in the shop, okay? Anyway, you take the core tube and you hold it up like that, and you run it around like that. Make sure that it's completely clean. It's completely clean. Take your warm or preheated tip, okay? Don't set it in there too heavy because this is going to heat up and expand. The pressure will keep it back anyway. You don't have to worry about it. Lubrication. I have not experienced any problems over lubricating the tip and the die as long as you roll it in there. Should the die be lubricated? It should be lubricated, yes. You should put a little lubricant on that, wipe it on a cloth, stick it in that hot die holder, rub it back and forth, turn it around a little bit if you can with your gloves, see if you can spin it a little bit to homogenize, you know, whatever, to spread that lubricant out a little bit. Don't worry about it if it's sitting back. That pressure will shove that thing right up forward, okay? Anyway, you take it apart. You say, this is, you know, explain to them, this is all there is to the crosshead. That's all there is. That's all there is to the unit. Now, let's suppose the operator, the foreman come along and said, are you done fooling around with that thing and you're going to get it up and going? Yes, sir. Well, when you're going to have it getting up going? Well, Mr. Foreman, I'll have that up and running before you can get back in your office and phone home. Oh, yeah? Yeah. All you do is just put that in there like that. Put that in there and you have this flat. Has to be oriented in this particular case, the old bullseyes. All the old bullseyes, the flat's on the inside toward the extruder, but with the eccentric flow dividers, they're there. You don't want to confuse them, sir? No problem. We'll put your brand new flow dividers, we'll put the flat on the same side with the extruder so that we don't confuse them, okay? But for customers that don't have bullseyes, we're starting them out with the flat toward the operator. Anyway, spin that nut on there. Turn that die over, put that right on a nice solid surface and let her bang right down there. Pick it up, go like that, and slide her down in. If you don't get it good, when you drop it in, the die will fall down on it. Okay, not a problem. If it does, put that on there. So of course the operator won't have that problem. Go like that, and it'll pop that die up there, okay? As you're spinning the cover on, so then the operator just runs the wire through the back, through the tip and the die, okay? Tightens the cover, ties it out, pushes the button, away it goes, okay? Now, I'll show you how quickly I can take this apart and put it back together, okay? You can time me now, but you'll see on tape, okay, how quickly it goes. All right. Operator takes a spanner wrench, loosens the cover up, takes a bolt and takes his die holder out, sets it in the die holder mount, taps his die out, cleans all of his parts up, ejects the tip, wipes the tip off, make sure it's clean, takes the nut off the core tube, gives it a tap, takes it out, brushes it up, cleans it up, make sure everything's okay. Install your new tip, install your new die, and operator puts his core tube in there, orients the flat in the appropriate place, okay? Puts the parts together, spins that on, runs his wire through and ties a knot, okay? Reaches up, pushes the button, he's back together. Now, sir, I can take this crosshead apart and put it back together in a half a minute here on your desk, okay? And you know and I know that this is not the real world. These parts are hot, and it's going to take more time. But still, how long is it going to take? It takes 30 seconds here. It's going to take 2 or 3 minutes out there on the floor. And there's nothing in the world like it, you know. Before you can get the 4 bolts out of your conventional crosshead, you'd have this thing apart. Before you can get the die holder off and get the die holder out, you have this thing totally clean and up and running. This will save you on bleed scrap. This unit holds between 3/8 and 5/16 of an ounce of plastic, okay, depending on the tip and die size, depending on compound. Resonance time, that means the amount of time the stuff dwells and hangs up in there. The resonance time is very, very short. Material comes in, spills over 360 degrees, it's self-cleaning. You can change from compound to color color and back and forth. Start up in January and take it apart in December. 5 minutes after just changing over the color, and you'll find nothing but nice fresh compound in there. No other crosshead on the market is self-cleaning. So you're going to save on bleed scrap, setup time. They're all excited about it. I mean, this is not a hard sell. They can see this. They're getting excited. Okay, they're with you. Okay, they're with you on this. Okay. And startup scrap, as you can see, there is no more startup scrap. No more centering scrap. It's totally been eliminated. All you do is push the button, get your diameter, and you're into production. No fuss, no muss, or anything. If it's off center, it's my fault. That blows them away when you say that, okay? When you don't take that responsibility. No, don't talk about buying wire or getting sued or anything. If it's off center, you can sue me. No. Say no, it's still the operator's, it's still the operator's responsibility. It'll always be their responsibility because you have to keep it clean. If it goes together clean, it'll come apart clean. You just have to make sure that when you're cleaning out the radial area there, that you don't contaminate it. Just make sure you inspect it, keep it clean, put it together, and run like a top. Any questions? Okay. All right. Well, that's the bullseye. There's many things probably about this that I didn't bring up, but I would like to show you our vortex model. On the vortex, what I've done with the vortex is I've eliminated the die holder. Okay. And I've set the die right into the body, and the only way I could do that is make it a rear loading crosshead. This is a front loading crosshead. And because we don't have a die holder, nor do we need a cover to hold a die holder on, because we don't have a die holder, we don't need a cover on. So that would eliminate two parts. But because it is a rear loading crosshead, what we've done with the core tube, we have the same taper with the core tube, but we've gone the other way. We have a much more substantial thread. Instead of having a half-inch hole and striking the tips on the conical back end of the tip, we're able to strike the whole back end of the tip. We go with a 5/8 rod, so we have a heavier rod and a heavier core tube. I'm going to get that crosshead out and show it to you in just a minute. But first of all, as impressed as you'll be with the, I don't have all the tools and accessories with this that I normally do because of the heft of it and everything, but I can show you some of the tools that I have for the vortexes. Price, yes, the price does include a heater band and all of the tools that you see here, and a lot more, and so does it with all of our crosshead models. So let me get into the vortex and explain that. I'll set this over here. Unfortunately, they're apt to pick that up and start playing with it while you're talking about the vortex. So anyway, let me set this over here for now, okay? Because as much as they like that, all right, as much as they like that. Now what they will do, they'll start playing with that, and you get the vortex out, they're going to put that down. They're going to put that down, okay? All right.
And should I have like an extra towel, like just in case they do pick it up, I might want to give them like the towel to put it like under in case they do drop
Yeah, you
pieces
can.
on the
Yeah,
table.
you can put that over there. If they're going to do that, slide that over there because you've got another towel here.
Okay.
Now I do not have my damn bolts. What did I do with them? Okay, this is the vortex model. Now what I've done, as you can see, I've eliminated the die holder and I've placed the die into the head itself. I'll explain these two bolt holes in a minute. They're not for adjustment or anything. There's a mount that goes on here for extracting the die. Okay, I'll explain that to you in a minute. Okay, we've placed the unit into a more solid head, and the reason that we've done that is because of better heat distribution. I'm not having any problems with this. But if you want to get technical about it, these crossheads, in fact, sir, bend a little bit under heat. Okay, they warp when they're hardened, and they have to be ground back on center. In fact, we even grind them off center. Okay, but cold, because you have more metal on this side than you have on this side. And when it heats up, it expands. So you have more expansion on this side than you have on this side. So what happens is you have this expansion here and less there. And it tends to bend a little bit. Doesn't warp, bends, only when it's hot. So what we had found was, in the early days when we made these, things were right on center, and we sent them out in the field, and the customers said they were getting something less than a perfect wall, you know. So we went out in the field and checked it out, and lo and behold, we found out that the problems were that when we heated them up to temperature, they were off center. So what we do, in fact, we grind them off center about 3/4 of a thousandth of an inch off center, and we make it tight on this side. So when it heats up between 300 and 500 degrees, it's right on center. So not a problem, okay? Now don't get into that information unless you find yourself walking into that information.
Okay.
They'll say, I don't understand. Why would it bend? I just told you, you idiot. No, you have this large cutout here, okay? So you've weakened it. Plus you have less metal. You have a lot more metal on this side, okay? What is this hole here? That's a manufacturing port. It serves our purpose in-house for manufacturing purpose. However, it also serves there if we're going to do extruder stripe for stripe extrusion, okay? We go in there and we stripe extrude for single stripe. Now if you're going to go into duplex dual stripe, we come uphill, we go into the side of the die holder and we mill out about halfway around the die holder a flute, a channel if you will, and we bleed 2 holes down in just above the die. So inside the die holder, if you had an extruder stripe die holder for 2 or 3 stripes, you in fact would see a little hole just above the rim of the die here, one there and one at 180, or 3 of them at 120 degrees, whatever you wanted, okay? So you would have that. And the way that's milled, there's no band, there's a cutout here around this, would be solid, and it would be milled out with a 1/4 inch ball end mill, 180 degrees, and it would line up there and bleed in, and the plastic would come around and then bleed it down for 2 holes for dual stripe. For single stripe, it's much easier just to come over here on this side, because the compound is coming in this way from the extruder, wraps around the mandrel and meets that stripe extruder and flows forward, and it'll give you a stripe. And so anyway, don't know if Piggott doesn't have any stripe extruders. Who does? A lot of people do. Badger Security does. We'll get you in there sometime too. Okay, so anyway, we have the Vortex model here, and one of the things we've done is we've, for tubing applications, for high temp and whatnot, we have aluminum bronze cover. No maintenance, because of aluminum bronze, very, very slippery. You don't need to lubricate your threads. We have the core tube. As you can see, you can compare the 2 core tubes here. You have a 3/4 16 thread versus an 1 1/4 16 thread. Much more substantial. There's a lot more meat to this core tube. Now what I'd like to do is take the unit apart, and I want to show you what the unit looks like, and then I'm going to show you how an operator will use it, okay? First of all, this is what the core tube looks like. It also is eccentric, okay? And this unit, although you have more metal, holds less compound. This holds between 1/4 and 5/16 of an ounce, as opposed to 5/16 and 3/8 of an ounce with a bullseye. With this, the material comes in and flows around and continues in a radial bore before it's captured by the die holder and brought down in the die. Unlike the bullseye, the compound comes into the crosshead and runs down into the die like that, so that you have no hang-ups, no walls, no problems. The material comes in, flows around the flow divider, and runs right down in the die. Resonance time is shorter yet. It's a lot easier to keep clean. This is not how the operator takes the die out, but I just wanted to show you once again that you have a 5-degree included taper here, okay? And then you have a 12-degree included angle here. It's the same angle as you have on the bullseye, but because we've reversed it, it's much more substantial. It's much more durable. It's not apt to have problems. Whereas with the bullseye, the taper runs the other way, and it's a front-loading machine, front-loading crosshead. And when the compound comes in and pressurizes it, it pushes the core tube back this way, pushes the die holder this way, and it's not so apt to stick on the Vortex as it is a bullseye, because the compound comes in, pushes a die that way, just as it does on the bullseye, but also pushes the core tube back. It tends to want to loosen it, but it never will and never can. It never has. Okay, it'll never get loose and leak. This crosshead never does, never will leak. This will never leak. I don't care if you're running nylon, okay, it won't leak. Why? Because the tapered surfaces are matched and it totally seals it off. You ask, how long will this crosshead last? What's it warranted for? I don't know, sir. Indefinitely against workmanship or material, okay? First of all, you have no moving parts, plus the elements that would attack the metal if it could. And we provide Inconel enhanced alloy for high temperature application, therefore it can't attack it. The characteristics that give it its accuracy and the claim to fame are the tapers and the perfect matching, and they seal off the compound. So the very crux of what makes this crosshead successful is exempt from the harsh compounds that would attack it and throw it off center, okay? Unlike other crossheads, where precision crossheads, you have the material running around precision areas and through precision areas and can affect it. But with ours, it seals it off. That's not a very good, I think I've essentially said it, but I say it much better than that, okay? And anyway, hand them this and say, this is what the operators have to clean up. And they look in there and they say, wow, that's really smooth. It's just you know, why do we call it a vortex? Well, it's first of all, yes, it is a catchy name, and it's not a helical vortex like a tornado or a whirlpool, but nevertheless, it is a what's a word for straight, longitudinal? What's a word for? Give me some other words. Straight, longitudinal, direct. Whatever. Okay.
Horizontal.
No. Well, it's a. I have to look at my patent claims anyway. But it is a vortex of converging tapers. We have converging tapers means you don't have parallel tapers. Okay, they're converging tapers. Your tip is like this, your die is like this. So you have a converging vortex of material flowing down through. Okay, and plus the inside would tend to suggest that anyway, as opposed to the design of the bullseye. Now, I did take it apart and show you, but I do want to show you how an operator would handle this crosshead, because it doesn't matter what you give them for a unit. If you don't give them the proper tools, they're going to beat it up and abuse it. And I think that we've addressed the issues concerning the proper tooling for the proper handling, dismantling, and reassembly of the crosshead. Once again, the introduction of a spanner wrench to loosen the flow divider. And if you don't mind, I'd like to get my brass tools out and set them up for you. So don't be alarmed at the amount of tools that I have here. These tools are not only, some of them are necessary, but some of them are what if tools. You know, what if this happens or what if that happens? Because it's easy for me to say, well, it works this way and everything, but what if the core tube's stuck and one thing or another? So I've created some tools here that will assist the operator in his operations, his handlings and whatnot of the unit. Okay, so I have some goodies here, and I'll explain them all to you as we go along here. Very simple, very simple. Now, okay, set them out, they'll gawk at that, okay. Okay, first of all, the spanner wrench to loosen that up. Once he does have it loosened now, we've given him a tool. Now, the operator has two hands. You can point that out to him. Keep in mind the operator does have two hands, and I'm doing the best I can here, holding this thing, putting that on. But he puts this on. This is a core tube holder. And just uses the thumb screw, tighten that down. You can't hurt the threads. No way you can hurt the threads. Pull that out of there, and he can hold that in his hand and clean it up, so he doesn't have to touch the hot parts, and he has complete control. Wild horses couldn't pull that out of there. Go ahead, sir, try to yank that out of there if you want. I mean, you know, better hope they don't yank it out of there, okay? But they won't, okay? It won't hurt it, okay? Just, you know, won't happen. Make sure that sucker's tight, but you can go like that. It's gonna hurt you if it falls out of there. It's not gonna fall out, okay? So anyway, you can clean that all up, okay? And once he has it clean, keep in mind now his tip is clean. We have a tip catcher, if you will, okay, and that's designed to catch the tip, okay, and a core tube mount, if you will, and that goes down in there like that, all right. And what you do is try to rattle that in there. Don't let it go bang on this nice mahogany desk, okay, and bring that upside down like that. Release the set screw, okay, and we've provided a knockout rod, but the knockout rod has a 25,000 stroke. We didn't give them a knockout rod that was so big they'll drive the thing right down in, okay? And just give it a short tap. Now if he tries to push on it, okay, it'll push hard, okay? Just show him all the operator has to do is just tap the tip out, okay? Grab it like this, because that's gonna stick in there. The reason it's gonna stick is because you've just tapped on the core tube and seated it in just a little bit, okay? Mm-hmm. Now the tip has been caught. Okay, I'll explain something in a second. So grab it like that, okay? Grab this, okay? and pull that out of there. It may stick a little bit, just pull it out, okay, get that to unstick. If you go to pick this up, this will come with it too many times, okay? But it's all on film here, you won't forget it, okay? Alrighty, okay, and I want you guys to study this and give me a demonstration, okay? Tomorrow, alright? Okay, well, we gotta do something here pretty quick, okay? Now, the tip has been cleaned, because you saw me clean it and brushed it up and everything and put it away. Now, take your preheated tip, this is all clean, it's ready to go back together, so you have your warm tip. Put her back together and you're back in business. But, now, we provided an X on here, plus a line on the core tube here, okay, to line that up, okay? So if the operator anywhere in there within 15 degrees, he's fine, so don't worry about it. It's not a big problem. But, put the cover back on, okay? And when the foreman or the engineer comes along, or the operator, you know, I don't even remember tying my shoes this morning. Now, if he looks at my shoes, I don't even remember tying my tie this morning.